Let's get into the program now. Joining me now, LNP Senator James McGrath on the line from Brisbane. Senator, great to see you. Let's start, if we can, with this statement this afternoon from the Prime Minister on Gaza, issued on letterhead with the PM's name at the top and the coat of arms, but it is a statement from him on behalf of the government. What did you make of it when you read it?
I was actually disappointed by the statement. First of all, he probably should have delivered it in Parliament, and because of the importance of the issue. But isn't it interesting that his moral outrage fails to mention Hamas? Hamas, who you mentioned at the start of the program, brutally murdered so many people. Hamas, who are the ones who are actually stopping a lot of the aid getting to the people who need the aid. Hamas, who are stealing the aid. Hamas, who are still holding 50 hostages, 20 who are believed to be alive. So the Coalition, we're very disappointed with the Prime Minister's statement for what it didn't say. Having said that, we do think that the worsening situation in Gaza needs to be addressed, and we are calling upon the Israeli government to work closely with relevant aid organisations to make sure aid is getting to those people who do need it.
I think you make a really interesting point, and I was going to ask you about this anyway. Knowing that Parliament was sitting up until, question time 3:30 yesterday afternoon, knowing that this statement was going to be made, I presume the Prime Minister decided that he was going to release it today. I would have thought if it was of such importance, why wouldn't you stand up in Parliament and say, I'd like to make a statement to the nation, and the opposition about what my government is now saying about the situation in Gaza. I want the country to know about it. You could even book, television time and make a statement to the nation. Why would you just put out a press release in the middle of the day on a Friday?
Because the Prime Minister ultimately does not respect Parliament. The Prime Minister just sees the new Parliament, especially with the supermajority that Labor have in the House of Reps, as just being a rubber stamp. It's just something that gets in the way. It is so true. He should have stood up in Parliament and made this statement because of the concerns that he has, and that would have also have allowed the opposition to make a contribution to the debate. But funnily enough, he doesn't want the opposition to be able to make contributions to this debate because we've got a Prime Minister who is run by arrogance. We've got a Prime Minister who's going to make Gough Whitlam look like a conservative when it comes not just to domestic changes, but to our international relations.
You just got to, no one wants to see those images we've been seeing out of Palestine. No one wants to see children suffering. No one wants to see people who are not able to access food. But it's a much more complex case than that. What do you imagine our great ally in the Middle East, the only democracy there in Israel, is going to make of what the Prime Minister's had to say this afternoon?
I think, and it would be difficult for me to speak on behalf of the Israeli government. As you point out, it is the only democracy in the Middle East, a democracy that is a very vibrant and boisterous one at the best of times. I think they would again be disappointed by the failure of the Prime Minister to understand the issues that are pertaining to Gaza, but also really disappointed that once again he's failed to bring his moral outrage to Hamas, a listed terrorist organisation, who've been stealing aid from aid convoys and then selling it on the black market. So, if the Prime Minister is so full of moral outrage, like his Foreign Minister, Senator Wong, perhaps they could send some of that moral outrage towards Hamas instead of continually attacking the Israeli government.
Just, Senator, back on domestic politics, you will have heard the points I made about this roundtable next month. We've got Jim Chalmers, the unions, business, various other advocates, the ACTU this morning, saying that employers are to blame for the lack of productivity, not workers but employers. What did you make of the Grattan Institute now talking up the possibility of houses worth over $750,000 now being included in your assets as to whether you can get the pension or not?
Australians should be worried. Those who own their own homes of pensionable age should be worried about organisations, so-called think tanks like the Grattan Institute, coming up with, quite frankly, harebrained ideas like this. And as you pointed out, back in the 80s, other people had similar ideas. This is bonkers. It is an idea that's just been dreamt up by a bunch of bozos. And I would hope that the Labor government and that Minister Plibersek and all the other ministers do rule it out and make sure it is dead, buried and cremated. To quote a former leader of my party, we need to make sure that the family home stays that, a family home, and it's something that should not be seen as a source of taxation revenue for a Labor government. And don't forget, I don't trust Labor when it comes to tax. Remember, this is a Labor Party who are going to tax unrealised gains in people's super funds. Now, yes, it's at $3 million. We'd all love to have $3 million in our super, but it's not CPI linked. Watch them lower it down over the years. And once they do this, they'll come after other assets also. With Labor, I don't trust what they say. I look at what they do, and that always scares me.
Yeah, and I'm also worried about that unredacted document that the ABC got their hands on through Freedom of Information that told the Treasurer, A, you're not going to make your housing commitment, it's never going to happen. B, you're spending too much money. And C, you've got to start taxing more.
And what the Labor Party don't realise is that if people start to cotton on to the fact that Labor are going to come after the money they've worked so hard for, people will then no longer invest money in the productive part of the economy. And we've got a talkfest coming up in a few weeks' time. You only have to look at what's happening in the UK at the moment, where the Labor Party there is taxing what's called non-DOMs. And they thought that they're going to bring billions of pounds of revenue coming in. In fact, the opposite has happened because the non-DOMs are all taking their money out of the country and leaving the country. And in Australia, we have a Labor Party who wants to raise taxes on the sectors of the economy who produce and are productive, then the reverse is going to happen.
Senator McGrath, good on you. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.